Hey guys. So, like they mentioned, Chad and I are here to talk about brand recognition. A quick intro. My name is Melissa Myres. I am one of our directors of insights over at 8451. If you're not familiar, 8451 is a subsidiary of the Kroger Company. We offer the nation's largest transactional data set of grocery data, 62 million households, 2 billion annual transactions. 100% card capture rate online, 95% in store, both cash and card. So we got you covered. And we kind of just help those consumers along their journey, helping CPGs, agencies, brokers with their marketing, their media needs, and all their data and insights. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Chad. Give a little bit of your background and experience.
Sure. So thank you for the introduction. I'm Chad Donvito. I'm the president at King's Hawaiian. Probably like most of you in here, I have been in marketing most of my career though. So I actually started with Kraft out in Tarrytown, New York on the Maxwell House brand, which is right back here, which is awesome to kind of be back in the fold here. We were just chatting earlier about the Kool-Aid man busting through the wall here. My very first company picnic, the Kool-Aid man person who was supposed to be in that costume got sick, and they said, hey, you know what? You'd be great in that Kool-Aid man costume. So I was in a Kool-Aid man costume in like 90-degree weather in Tarrytown, sweating my face off, and I could only say, oh yeah, so many times. So, the Maxwell House, good memories over there. I just a little shudder when I looked that direction, but it is fantastic to be back here talking with y'all.
If they ever ask you what your height is at a company picnic, don't answer, because it's probably they need you to fill a costume.
Or say really tall. One or the other.
Perfect. So King's Hawaiian has a very interesting origin story. Could you give us a little bit of that background?
Sure, absolutely. And I think I have a couple of pictures here that I can help with this because I'm a marketer and we have pictures and videos. So King's Hawaiian's origin story is really the ethos of the brand. It is all about a family starting a bread business in Hawaii. So they started in Hilo, Hawaii, and it really was absolutely a family affair. It is, uncles, cousins, grandparents, friends, all got together to be able to start this company. And that's kind of the spirit that they live by, so much so that, it's Nick's picture here is just the bakery and the cafe and restaurant that they had in Hawaii. And it was all about bringing people together. They had the mayor eating at the restaurant twice a week, and he'd have people come in and talk about the community. And it really was like this ethos of, you hear the word ohana, probably in Lilo and Stitch and any other Hawaiian movie you've seen, but it is the fabric of who we are as a brand. And it really is about the extended family. So it goes just from the family making it out to everybody that interacts with that brand. And so it got big. People really enjoyed that style, right? That aloha spirit. They felt this, great product, but also felt the graciousness of the family and what it was all about. And so they were able to expand. That's our awesome 1976 aloha coming to California, and it's been taken all across the country now. And so that's, I guess, really the origin story is, it's still a family-owned company. The owner, his siblings, his kids are still there every day. They're still very much a part of it. And they, interestingly enough, they really embody this. Like when you meet them, the first time you meet them, you would know exactly what the company is all about because it's just who they are. So it's been a great place to be.
Awesome. You talk about the spirit of aloha, so much so it's even in all the email signatures that you receive from the company. How do you keep that alive, like internally at the company, with your suppliers, with your retailer partners, and then finally with the consumer?
Yeah, so you can see I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt today, and it's not just for today. I wear this every single day. Not the same one, luckily. But no, it's who we are as a company, and I think it's unique. And so when we first talked to the brand innovators folks about, what could we talk about here today, there's incredible brand marketers throughout the audience, and so it was a little more on like, well, let's talk maybe about how the brand permeates other things than just the consumer. And so I appreciate the question around, where else does it show up, because it really starts with our employees. And again, I'm going to be the picture guy to share stuff. But even down from our CEO, it's all about not what the product is or where we work. It's all about the people. And the aloha spirit has to be there, right? It's this idea of graciousness, dignity, inviting and welcoming people in. That's what we make sure it absolutely comes across, so that when we go out and put marketing, it's all about bringing people together. To the point earlier today, I think that was made around authenticity. It feels like that's who we are. I don't ever want anyone in our organization to go, well, that's not how we are around here. That's who we are in the office. It's who we are towards the consumer. And so with our consumers, it's that way. Even with our suppliers, we kind of have a little bit of a different setup with all of our suppliers. Every year we do a summit with our suppliers. We call it a summit, but the reality is it's a big thank you for our suppliers. And we bring in about 200 different groups that we work with. We go golfing with them. We go on boat cruises with them. We do dinners with them. And it has nothing to do with King's Hawaiian, really. We'll talk to them about what we're doing. This is a panel of all of our leadership team members, and they're just answering questions. We bring our suppliers in, ask whatever you want. Gloves off, anything you want. Some of the questions are tough. Some of the questions are great, and some of them are both, which is awesome. But it really is all about just like, let's do this a little bit differently. Let's make sure that they feel welcomed into the family. And so that this ohana that we talk about extends not just to the internal company, but it extends to all of our suppliers too. And it goes the same thing with our retailers. It's been kind of fun. I don't know if you guys have seen, who's seen kind of a big merchandising display in their stores of King's Hawaiian before? Yeah, it's fun, and it's not something that we have to do all the time ourselves, because we make it feel like it's gathering and bringing people together. So the picture here you see, we sent out, Peyton and Eli are sponsors with us right now, which has been tons of fun, by the way. But we send them out these displays, but they're the ones that have fun with it, right? They're the ones that want to bring their personal touch to it to make it feel like it's their family, right? So this is at a Kroger store, and they're making it feel like it's their family. They're building their own snowmen. They're putting up their KH stockings. This is nothing that we give them, by the way. Each person kind of does this on their own because they feel like it all comes together. And so that's kind of how we try to treat them. And then we want that to go through. So those Mannings, they come through in our branding as well with that same kind of family type feel. So hopefully audio or visual is working on this, and we can watch that piece as well. Maybe.
Hey, Peter.
Oh.
Thanks for hosting Slider Sunday.
You got it.
But aren't we missing something?
Look who saved Slider Sunday again! Wow. Here we go. Perfect King's Hawaiian slider. Cake good too.
Classic Eli. Love that, Dad.
Seriously.
King's Hawaiian Slider Sunday.
The only way to Sunday.
So we love working with those guys, but it really is about bringing people together. That's where the brand's at, how it can be fun, how it can be light, and how we can, allow people to a little bit to the Lunchables point of creativity and just allow people to be themselves together. That's where the brand's really lived.
I love that. One might think that bakery is a seasonal category, but looking at the data, besides the normal spikes, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, King's Hawaiian has a very constant, steady state throughout the year. It is a year-round favorite. How do you keep year-round spirit of aloha for the brand?
So that was one of the things that we looked at when we first came in, was really the idea of how do we make sure that while you think about it only a couple times a year originally, hey, great, I'm going to get for a Thanksgiving dinner, and we talked about that. It's going to be amazing for the day after as well. But how do we get that in more places? And it went back to that kind of brand ethos a little bit. If we want to bring people together for things, so let's start talking about the Super Bowl. Let's start talking about 4th of July. Let's start talking about those places where you would want to bring people together. And it becomes a little bit of an enabler. Like when that's there, they're excited. Oh, you have the great food. You have King's Hawaiian there. And so that's really what we started doing about 10 or so years ago. We put a focus on, we want to not just be known as like a holiday brand. We really want this aloha spirit to permeate. And that was the way to do it, was to talk about these great occasions when people could enjoy it. And now, some of these other occasions are getting even bigger than some of our holiday occasions, which has been a fantastic thing to be able to be a part of.
Speaking of occasions, our data shows that loyalty or exclusivity to the King's Hawaiian brand is extremely high, like 80 to 90%. There is no substitute when they are at the store. How do you find ways to innovate and bring new and exciting things while still staying true to the core brand?
So it's nice to have a really awesome individual product. It's also very difficult when you have a really awesome individual product to come up with something else that's new. And the family that started the company, they're high bar and like, okay, what else do we want to do? But it's got to be as good as this product, and that's a very high hurdle to be able to go over. And so, Eric and I were talking earlier today. I'll be the first to admit we're not amazing at innovation, and a little bit is that, like, how do we make sure that that same thing does come to life? We did get some innovation here over the past couple of years with our new pretzel style of products, and it really combines, what you think about King's Hawaiian, that soft fluffiness with pretzel. And it was because we found that thing of people saying, our pretzel's really tough and dry, and we can solve a problem, but it's really hard to come up with something new that fits that hurdle. And that honestly, again, everything we do has to go across that ethos of, is it bringing people together? Is it one of those things that people will get really excited about? And so we did a ton of testing with this, and the testing wasn't necessarily, are people buying in stores, but it was going to barbecues where people had this and just seeing how people reacted. Was it, were people getting really pumped? Were they excited? Were friends excited to come over? Were they leaving it on the side and eating some other things? And so we actually tried several different kinds of products, and some of them were left on the side, and it was like, this is what we're trying to do here, to bring people together. And so I think there's something to the idea of, if you want to go after a very specific ethos, I think Melissa mentioned it this morning, this idea of like, you got the bouncer at the door of strategy, right? You have to say, okay, that doesn't work, kick it out. They can't come in. So that's where we've been, which is limited us, to be very fair, to not launching tons of innovation, to launching just things that we think will do that.
You mentioned, we'll call it in-home usage test on the pretzel bread. What other data or research do you guys rely on to help you make decisions?
So I'm a big fan, and the Lunchables folks talked about going in and watching kids and seeing what they do. So I'm a big believer in what people do versus what they say they would do. And so we've actually kind of jettisoned a lot of the research that is based on consumers saying, hey, yeah, I'm a King's Hawaiian consumer, self-reported, and I'll tell you what I like about the brand or what I like about the new product. We've kind of moved away from all that. We only use validated sources now, where we can see it. So we can see 8451 is a great example. Others, right, that are able to say, no, I know exactly who this person is, and so I want to follow those guys. During COVID, we actually used 8451 to be able to say, there's a lot of new consumers coming into our brand. Let me see who they are and what they do. What are the things they're purchasing? I want to know exactly who they are, because we don't know those new consumers that came in during COVID. And we do the same thing on innovation now. We really try to go out into people's homes and share things with them, whether it's directly. We also do some things now where we'll go into stores. It's been an interesting new way of doing things, but it's worked out okay. Starting this innovation process where we'll go into stores and we'll set up sampling tables, and we'll tell people, $1 for any of these samples that are there, and we'll see it. Do people vote with their wallet to buy that, to try that sample? And once they vote with their wallet, we hand them their money back and we give them the sample, because we just want to see, are they actually serious about this, or are they just going to say, oh, that was great, yeah, thanks, and they walk out the door and the sample cup goes in the trash. We want to see if they're serious about it. And so that's really where our research is leaning more and more towards. Let's find out exactly what the consumer action they're taking versus what they're saying.
Yes, I love that, when they're voting with their dollars. Speaking of kind of success measures, ROI tracking is so important, whether it's on promotional events, marketing campaigns. What are the most important metrics that you're looking at to determine whether something's a success?
So I mentioned prior, right, I was a marketing guy coming in. Somehow they put me in a CFO role for a while, so I had to wear a finance hat, and so I'm very much in the camp.
Which was worse, Kool-Aid or finance?
It was a toss-up.
It was a toss-up.
Toss-up.
So I thought so.
Yeah, but as you do that, you think about the dollars and cents. And I'm sure everyone in this room, you're looking at payback miles, and you're looking at okay, is this driving my business? Is it not? And it's hugely important, obviously, that near term, what's happening when I go take actions, is it working, is it not? Because I think like everyone here, right, you want to pivot quickly on things that don't work, and on things that are working, just pour the gasoline on it and let it keep burning. But I think there's also other metrics that you got to consider. Again, with the good pictures that I have, I think I got one more. Good Morning America was a great example. So we, several years back, worked with them to sponsor their summer concert series. And we wanted to do a bunch of experiential. So we did huge things in the park around the concerts. And then we were able to, have that filmed. It would play in the mornings with Good Morning America. And when you looked at the immediate payback on it, it was just hard, kind of hard to track. There's lots of different components to it. And where was it at? What was it going to be delivering? But we felt really strongly. We were seeing some payback against it, but felt really strongly that other things were moving. So we started looking at it in different ways. So all of the commentary that you would track through all kinds of social media platforms that weren't tied to our post or anything, people were starting to talk about King's Hawaiian more, and it was being tied more towards music or more towards activities that we really liked, that we wanted to be a part of, right? This brand ethos that we wanted to be a part of. And so we started looking at other things like that to say, are we showing up and are we being talked about in places and in venues where we say that's our brand? Because we build that brand, as all you guys know, building the brand for the long term is really what I think everyone in here is in the business of doing. And so we looked more and more at that. And then the third thing we started really looking at that was interesting was the amount of retailer excitement that we would get as we did different activations. And so, you saw those big displays. We're a major display type of a business. We interact mostly with the bakery and deli. And unlike in most other parts of the store, the bakery and deli has people in there all the time. And so they're out building stuff, doing things, and constantly interacting with consumers. And so when you get them excited, they want to go do more things. And so it was super interesting. GMA became one of those things they were really excited about. They could watch it in the mornings. They could, there's King's Hawaiian, it's right there. They could talk about the artists. And so we ended up doing a lot of different campaigns with them. We ended up getting Dierks Bentley, who was one of the guys that performed, and say, let's do a huge campaign across the country where you can go into retail stores. We'll put posters up that someone from one of the retailer accounts can win a Dierks Bentley concert in their front yard. And so that's what we did. And we actually decided it was so cool that they put it on GMA. They filmed it. So the only problem was the front yard concert was like 5 a.m. In someone's front yard, which we had to get the neighbors really excited about. Dierks is coming. Come on, guys, get up early. So they filmed everything, and they just steered clear of the guys in like the pajama pants. And but yeah, no, I think getting that ROI around getting people mobilized around your brand is really important, because you want that force multiplier. That's not just if I spend $1, I get a $1.50 back. You want, if I spend $1, I get that $1.50 back, and I also get another $1 from the retailer, another $1 from the influencer who's really jazzed about this. You want to build that out. And so that's how I think about when we think about payback on things. I think about it more than just the immediate dollars and cents.
I love that. I also heard you mention things like, if you're going to fail, fail fast, very growth mindset oriented. What can other brands learn from King's Hawaiian's approach to maintaining one brand approach through all those touch points?
So I think a couple of things. Authenticity has been talked about a lot today. I think that's one of the things that comes when you try to make sure that your brand, what you do every day in the walls of the company, is the same as what happens outside the walls of the company. So I think that's really important. I think there's a big thing we talked about, suppliers and partners. I think it's really powerful to get your suppliers and your partners to feel like they're an extension of you. And I'm sure you guys do a great job with it. I think that's one thing that I learned more and more as I've been with King's Hawaiian, though, is that if you really put the effort and the time into it, and it costs money, to be fair, you'll have to make spend choices that are trade-offs that say, I'm going to go spend on something that is to get them really excited. I'm not sure it's going to move my needle, but it's going to get them really excited. And you make some of those choices to do that and to bring them in. We also, when we think about our partners, and you guys may do this as well, when we think about how we do marketing planning, we do it a little bit differently. So the guys at Good Morning America, they actually come in to our brainstorming sessions for whiteboard sessions. What might we do for the next year? And we ask them, we don't want you to wear a GMA hat when you're here. We want you to wear your King's Hawaiian hat. And so they'll come up with ideas that have nothing to do with Good Morning America. We have partners. One of our best campaigns right now that I really enjoy, the Slider Sunday campaign, actually came from our social media external partner. They were talking about it, and we said, great. And literally while we're in the room, we started purchasing Slider Sunday, Slider Saturday, everything.com we could find, because they're coming up with ideas on the fly. And so I think bringing them in, sometimes it feels a little awkward because they're there to, you think, hey, they want to sell me media time. And it's great to do that. But if you really have them as an extension of yourself, then they want to be on the team and they want to help you win. That's the really fun thing. When you get people in there that want to help you win, especially the retailers, when they're on board and they really want to, they want that success to happen for you because they're excited about it and they feel part of it. I think that, to me, that's the thing that I think as an industry, it would be good that we all have that, right? We're all in competition, right? In different ways with other brands. But I think if everyone's excited about doing things, even if the share stays the same, everyone's gonna have a whole lot more fun in doing this as opposed to button heads. And so I think that's something that we can do.
I love that. Co-creating the plan, creating the excitement, and then everyone feels ownership over the execution and then the outcome after it.
Absolutely.
We talked a little bit about innovation. We have some research that shows 18 to 44-year-olds rank bakery as one of the highest categories that they would love to see innovation in. Can you give us like any sneak peeks of some stuff that's coming up?
Yeah, so I think bakery is a fascinating place to be able to innovate. And like I mentioned before, we're not like the very best in that space yet. And I think one of the challenges is a bakery is unique. And probably one of the reasons people want more innovation there is that it's unique in that it's a very perishable area. And so whatever you do in there, and we have a shelf life on our product and it's very hard to get. And so whatever you do in there takes, when it's really innovative, we'll make stuff like, this is amazing, the best thing ever. It lasts for 48 hours. And that's not a great place to be in the CPG world. And so it is difficult. We've been doing a lot of external travel, and I would absolutely recommend this. This has been an unlock for us a bit, has been getting into different markets. So we just got back from Japan here a week ago or so. We're looking at expansion, but also looking at, like, there's so many things out there that just trigger ideas like, oh, we could try something like that. Or you'll see a package on the shelf in bakery that you're like, I have no idea how that's here for 2 weeks. Like, what's going on with this? How can we use that? So we're doing more and more of that type of look. I will say I'm pretty excited about this without it's exactly what the product is yet. We just finished building a facility in Georgia to run a new snacking line within bakery. So that's pretty exciting. Literally Monday, the first items were starting to be produced on the line. So that is fun. But yeah, that snacking kind of bread space, I think is a big space to get into. And we talk about snacking a lot. I think consumers just in general are turning their eating habits much more that direction. So that's kind of what's out there for us. But like I said, I think there's so many awesome things that we can pick off from CPG around the world that it's amazing to me. Every time I go to a foreign country, I think I've never seen anything like half of these products in the US. They're awesome. They're really good. Why are they not here? I think it's big.
You talked, one quick follow-up, you talked about like social media. What is one social media like hack or, cool thing that you've learned about your product from social media? It's like there's always people doing some crazy stuff with.
There's some fun stuff. It's funny because everybody, the hacks, honestly, that we hear from fans, they'll say, I did this. No one's ever done this before. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I saw like 100 people do that, but they're awesome. Like, they're all awesome. And the big one that everyone has, right? They just slice the entire thing. You get a 24 pack, a 12 pack, slice the whole thing. They make all their own spreads inside of this and they put it in there. The one really cool thing that I did see was this person made it all like that, stuffed it straight back into the bag, tied up, took it to the beach. And I was like, that is a great way to keep sand out.
It's the best.
So I'm a huge fan of that because I've got 4 kids. And so when I bring any kind of King's Hawaiian anywhere, that thing is devoured and gone. And so they don't even care about the sand. They kick it on there and like it's a crunchy mess is what it becomes. But yeah,
Sugar,
that was good.
Sand, no
Sugar,
one will
sand,
ever know.
they just put it down.
Perfect. Well, thanks for hanging out and sharing. We can open it up to any questions that folks might have.
Hi, my name is Pearson Curtis with H&R Block. Ched, it sounds like you have an interesting background, both marketing experience, then you wore a CFO hat. So what advice do you have to the marketers in the room trying to justify new ideas or an investment to their finance department?
Oh, that's a great question. It was actually kind of funny. For about 2 months of that time, I was wearing the marketing hat and the CFO hat. So I justify idea to myself, like, that's a great idea. Let's spend some money on that. So if you can pull that off and find that company, that's
I'll
great.
keep that in mind.
No, but look, I think that there's two things I think are important as you think about talking with the dollars and cents of an item. I think one, you got to do your homework still on everything, right? To be able to come in and say, here is the financial implication of doing this, it has to be there, bar none. I think the second component is, what is that gonna lead to for the brand long term? I mentioned kind of this ethos of the brand. I think you can go in and you got to really educate, in that case, the CFO, to be able to say, look, here's what happens when I launch a product, it's X. But if I can really build this out, here's where it goes. And so what I like to do, honestly, is taking other brands in, which is kind of interesting play. But you can go in and say, hey, if you looked at what Lunchables did, here's how they did it. Guess what? It didn't blow up overnight. You can see the IRI data. It didn't blow up overnight. Here's how it worked. Here's how the long-term brand gets built. You gotta get to educate them a little bit on that, because to be fair, most CFOs aren't coming through the marketing route. Most CFOs are coming through the finance side, and they want to know the number, and they don't have maybe some of the background. So if you can educate them on what successes have looked like, I have found, at least, and this goes back to Hasbro days, Kraft days, they're more interested in hearing the discussion.
Another one back here. Great.
Hey Chad, good morning. This is Suryansh from essentiallysports.com, coming from Lambert's last week at South by Southwest, so your barbecue.
Excellent.
It's always nice to have that, even as a vegetarian.
The bread was good though, right?
Yeah, the bread was good. The bread was good. That's what I survived on. So my question to you is, I know your brand spends a lot on sports. So it's a two-part question. One, as a family-owned business, does the marketing decision get defined by maybe the family likes sports? Is that why it does? And second, what's your spend split between experiential and digital as a barbecue brand?
Great question. So interestingly, so when you think about a family-run business, a lot of times the family will have a big thumbprint on how you want to go activate. And actually, the family that owns the King's Wine brand does not. So they really want that ethos to come across, but they don't say, I love baseball, let's go do baseball, or I love NASCAR, let's go do NASCAR. And so they just say what's right for the brand. Who are we talking to? Who are our consumers? And so we're in a lot of sports, right? We do some football, we do some NASCAR, we do some baseball. We're getting into MLS a little bit, but mostly because it's where our fans are and where they want to experience these get-togethers, right? When it's around him watching the game, it's exciting to have sliders around, and so we do more of it based on what that fan really wants, what our consumer is going to really want. Now, it doesn't hurt that I think a lot of the folks in the office love sports. I'm a sports guy as well, but it really comes. It's fan first. I will tell you, like, I'm not a NASCAR guy, but that's where that's where fans are at, and so that's where we're going. When it comes to how we think about the split and how we use, and I think you're saying how we leverage and amplify our sports presence. I always think about anything that's contained, so a sports type of presence that's contained, an experiential event that's contained, it's got to have a magnifying glass put up against it. Otherwise, to be very fair, the spend just isn't worth it. Juice isn't worth the squeeze in that case. And so put on an amazing event, you got to have enough social power, whether it's bringing influencers in, whether it's your own content, to be able to amplify and blow that out. And so you're usually, depending on kind of the event, 2 or 3 to 1 on what we'll do experiential to drop what the experience is, but then to amplify it, we usually go 2 or 3x, because we need to make sure that those dollars are working for us. Because it's awesome to see, like, if you see everyone gathering and having a lot of fun together at a NASCAR tailgate, on social, you're like, dang, I want to do that. I want to be part of whatever that is. And so that's where we found the biggest benefit.
Round of applause.